There's a quiet power in this world, one that doesn't announce itself, doesn't demand attention, yet bends the will of others without force. Some people chase influence through words, status, or control, but the most impactful figures move differently. They influence not by speaking louder, but by simply existing in alignment with their own truth. This is the way of the Sigma female, a woman who shapes the world without trying, whose silent force shifts the currents around her. There is an unspoken force in the world, an energy that commands attention without effort, a presence that influences without words. This is the art of silent alchemy, where mere existence becomes power. A Sigma female understands this instinctively. She doesn't seek approval, she doesn't chase attention, yet when she walks into a room, people feel her presence before they even see her. But what exactly makes this presence so powerful? It's not about being loud, outgoing, or forceful. It's about internal mastery. A Sigma female cultivates her presence through self-awareness, emotional control, and an unwavering sense of purpose. She moves with an air of quiet certainty, an unshakable knowing that she doesn't need validation from anyone. And that, paradoxically, is what draws people in. Think about the difference between a flickering candle and a steady flame. The flickering candle fights for attention, dancing erratically, while the steady flame burns with quiet intensity. The Sigma female is that steady flame. Her calmness in a chaotic world makes people instinctively trust her, respect her, and even seek her out for guidance, without her ever asking for it. Example: the presence of influence. History is filled with individuals who influenced the world without needing to be the loudest voice in the room. Take Princess Diana, for instance. Unlike other public figures who sought control through dominance, Diana's power came from her presence. She carried herself with grace, listened intently, and moved through the world with an air of quiet strength. People leaned in when she spoke, not because she demanded it, but because her presence made them want to listen. This principle applies everywhere, from leadership positions to social dynamics. Consider a workplace scenario where two individuals enter a meeting room. One storms in, making noise, asserting their importance, demanding recognition. The other walks in with quiet confidence, no rush, no need for validation. Yet, as the meeting progresses, the second person's words carry more weight. Why? Because their presence has already commanded the room before they even spoke. The Sigma mindset, mastering your presence. A Sigma female doesn't seek attention, she earns it. She understands that true influence is not about forcing people to notice you, but about becoming someone they can't ignore. Her power lies in her ability to be fully present, to observe before she speaks, and to carry herself with an aura of quiet dominance. This is the essence of silent alchemy, where presence alone transforms into unseen power. A true mark of the Sigma female is her ability to adapt to any environment without losing herself. She doesn't need to announce her presence, nor does she need to change who she is to fit in. Instead, she practices the art of adaptive camouflage, the ability to blend into any situation or group, navigating social landscapes with precision and authenticity without sacrificing her core identity. This skill is what allows her to move through different spaces, whether it's a corporate boardroom, a social gathering, or a quiet moment of introspection, without ever compromising her true self. The Sigma female doesn't draw attention to herself, but she doesn't shrink either. She knows when to speak, when to remain silent, and when to make her presence known. Adaptability is her greatest strength, And it's what allows her to wield quiet influence without ever seeming like she's trying. She understands that each situation requires a different energy, and rather than force herself into a mold, she flows through circumstances with ease, leaving a lasting impact without disrupting the natural order of things. The subtle power of listening. In a crowded room filled with people all vying for attention, the Sigma female may remain quiet at first, listening rather than speaking. Her silence is not a sign of weakness or lack of engagement. It's a calculated move. By observing, she assesses the dynamics of the group, who is speaking, what the unspoken tensions are, and where she can best contribute without disrupting the flow. When the time is right, she steps forward with a simple, well-timed comment or question, one that shifts the entire conversation. She doesn't need to dominate the room to be effective. Instead, she knows that sometimes the greatest impact comes from remaining quiet until her words carry the most weight. This is adaptive camouflage at its finest, blending in, observing, and then strategically influencing the moment when it counts most. Historical parallel: the discreet influence of Jane Austen. A prime example of adaptive camouflage can be seen in the life of Jane Austen. Known for her keen observations of society and her subtly subversive storytelling, Austen was not an outwardly bold figure in her time. She lived a relatively quiet life, often blending into the background, yet her influence on literature and society has been profound. Through her writing, she subtly critiqued the social norms of her time, all while maintaining a posture of outward conformity. Austen didn't challenge the system head-on. Instead, she moved through it with grace and intelligence, using her writing to inspire change. This is exactly how a Sigma female operates. She doesn't need to cause a spectacle. She makes her impact quietly but powerfully through strategic action and authentic presence. The Sigma mindset: navigating with intention. Adaptive camouflage is not about being deceptive or losing oneself in the crowd. It's about understanding that not every moment requires the same energy or approach. A Sigma female remains true to her authentic self, but she knows when to step forward, when to step back, and how to blend seamlessly into any situation. She doesn't feel the need to dominate, yet she is never overlooked. Influence is often mistaken for loud speeches, grand gestures, or forceful persuasion. But true influence, the kind that lingers, the kind that alters minds without resistance, is subtle. A Sigma female understands this deeply. She doesn't persuade by arguing. She doesn't convince by pleading. Instead, she uses the power of veiled persuasion, a quiet, almost imperceptible form of influence that shifts perspectives without force. But how does this work? It all comes down to perception, presence, and precision. While others rush to make their opinions known, the Sigma female is deliberate. She speaks sparingly, knowing that words hold more power when they are not overused. When she does speak, she does so with conviction, clarity, and a calm certainty that makes people stop and listen. Her greatest strength? She doesn't try to change people's minds. She plants seeds. Instead of telling someone what to think, she asks the right key and say. Instead of demanding, she subtly redirects. She understands that people resist force but are drawn to intrigue. Example: the strategic pause. Imagine a workplace meeting where ideas are being thrown around aggressively. Two co-workers are in a heated debate, each trying to overpower the other with their points. In the middle of this, a Sigma female sits quietly, observing. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't rush to speak. Instead, she listens carefully, calculating her response. Then, At the right moment, she leans forward slightly, tilts her head, and asks a simple yet piercing question. One that cuts through the noise and forces everyone to stop and think. The room falls silent. Suddenly, the debate shifts. Not because she argued her way in, but because she made people reflect. That is veiled persuasion. Historical parallel, the power of subtle influence. One of the greatest examples of veiled persuasion can be found in Leonardo da Vinci. He rarely argued with people about his ideas, nor did he impose his genius on others. Instead, he used curiosity as his tool. He asked profound questions, left people contemplating, and led them to conclusions without ever forcing them. His influence didn't come from control, it came from insight. The Sigma female embodies this same energy. She never she pushes, she pulls. By controlling her words, reading emotions, and strategically placing her influence, she becomes a silent force of persuasion. The Sigma mindset, influence without force. Most people try to influence others by talking more. The Sigma female does the opposite. She listens, she observes, and when she speaks, it is with intention. That is why her words hold weight. This is the art of veiled persuasion, the ability to influence without trying, to lead without commanding, and to change minds without force. Leadership often brings to mind a person standing at the front, directing, commanding, or actively steering the course of action. But for a Sigma female, leadership doesn't need to be loud or visible to be effective. In fact, the most profound form of leadership is invisible leadership. The ability to influence, guide, and steer a group without saying a word, without taking center stage. This kind of leadership isn't about taking charge physically. It's about taking charge of the energy in the room and subtly guiding the flow of conversation and decisions. What makes this form of leadership so powerful? It comes down to the art of observation, timing, and influence. A Sigma female doesn't demand attention. She commands it through her actions, her ability to remain calm under pressure, and her sharp instincts. In a room full of people, her ability to understand the dynamics, read the atmosphere, and make an impact through her presence alone is what makes her a natural leader. Example: the quiet power of observation. Imagine a high-stakes business meeting where tension is high and everyone is eagerly waiting to voice their opinions. In this moment, the Sigma female remains quiet, but her presence is felt by everyone. As others speak, she listens carefully, taking in not just the words, but the subtext, the body language, the tone, and the unspoken emotions behind each statement. When it's her turn, she doesn't jump in with a barrage of ideas. Instead, she offers a thoughtful pause, a moment where everyone else reflects. By taking this strategic silence, she creates space for people to reconsider their points. This pause isn't just an absence of words, it's a subtle shift that changes the course of the conversation. When she does speak, her words are measured, offering a solution or a guiding perspective that pulls the group toward a decision. The Sigma female doesn't take over a conversation. She steers it with precision. She knows when to allow the chaos of discussion to unfold and when to gently guide the group toward a resolution. This invisible leadership is what makes her invaluable in any situation. Historical parallel: the quiet leadership of Eleanor Roosevelt. One historical figure who exemplified invisible leadership was. As First Lady, Eleanor wasn't one to stand at the front of the room giving speeches or trying to control every situation. Instead, her leadership came from the way she subtly guided conversations and inspired change behind the scenes. She didn't need to yell, demand, or dominate. She led through quiet example by supporting causes that mattered to her and influencing those around her by her actions. In the same way, a Sigma female's leadership doesn't rely on force. It comes from the ability to read a situation and offer direction through strategic silence and careful timing. She influences by being a steady, calm presence that others naturally gravitate toward for guidance. The Sigma mindset: leadership without ego. A Sigma female understands that leadership isn't about the ego. It's about the ability to subtly influence the outcome without being in the spotlight. She leads not by talking more, but by understanding when to speak and when to remain quiet. Her influence is rooted in self-awareness and the understanding that sometimes the best way to lead is by letting others find their own path, while gently guiding them in the right direction. This is the essence of invisible leadership: leading without being seen, influencing without force, and guiding with wisdom that doesn't demand attention. A Sigma female leads not by shouting her presence, but by making her presence known in the most profound, unspoken way. There's an almost magnetic quality to the Sigma female, an allure that draws people in without her ever actively trying. She isn't the loudest or the most outgoing in the room, yet people gravitate toward her. This is the power of mystique magnetism, the ability to attract, engage, and captivate others with an air of enigmatic confidence. A Sigma female doesn't need to reveal all of herself to be compelling. In fact, the more she holds back, the more people are intrigued. What makes this magnetism so powerful is the combination of confidence and mystery. The Sigma female walks through the world with a quiet self-assurance, not needing to explain herself to others. She carries an energy that says, "I know who I am, and I don't need to prove it." This confidence isn't loud, it's subtle, almost understated, but it's felt by everyone around her. People notice her not because of what she says, but because of how she makes them feel, drawn in, curious, and eager to understand her. Example: the power of silence and space. Think of the last time you encountered someone with this kind of mystique. Perhaps it was a colleague, a mentor, or even a stranger at a social gathering. Notice how this person didn't dominate the conversation, nor did they make efforts to be the center of attention. They remained calm, collected, and measured in their responses. Their eyes locked with yours for just a moment too long, and in that space, something shifted. Without uttering a word, they made you feel like you wanted to know more about them. This is the art of mystique. The Sigma female doesn't reveal her entire story up front. She gives just enough to spark curiosity, then allows others to come to their own conclusions. Instead of constantly seeking validation, she invites others to seek her. This quiet form of charisma often leaves others in awe, drawn to her without quite understanding why. Historical parallel: the magnetic presence of Cleopatra. A historical example of this mystique magnetism is Cleopatra. Despite being a queen and an extremely powerful figure, Cleopatra never made her presence felt by demanding attention. Instead, her magnetism came from the way she carried herself, with a sense of power that didn't need to be asserted. She understood that true influence came not from revealing everything about herself, but from leaving just enough to intrigue and captivate. Her confidence, paired with her air of mystery, made her an alluring figure in the ancient world, attracting allies and even rivals alike. Similarly, a Sigma female understands the value of remaining a mystery. She doesn't open herself up entirely, and because of that, others are drawn to her. She may not reveal all of her plans or thoughts, but she gives just enough to make others want to know more. It's this balance between confidence and secrecy that creates a powerful aura of magnetism. The Sigma mindset: confidence without arrogance. The Sigma female's confidence is not rooted in arrogance. It's born from an inner understanding that she doesn't need anyone's validation. She doesn't crave attention. She doesn't beg for admiration. Her allure comes from her ability to remain true to herself, to stand firm in her own skin, and to move through the world with the quiet understanding that she has nothing to prove. This is mystique magnetism. The quiet, powerful attraction of a woman who holds herself with confidence without needing to broadcast it. A Sigma female's magnetism doesn't rely on what she says or does. It's in how she exists. Her very being draws people in, and those who are truly worthy will understand the depth of the enigma that is her. And those who don't understand, they'll continue to admire from afar, captivated by the mysterious allure that makes her unforgettable. The Sigma female understands that the most powerful form of influence often comes without words, without a grand speech, or a flashy display of action. Instead, her true strength lies in the echoes of autonomy, the quiet, powerful way she leads by example, inspiring change and growth in others without ever needing to ask for it. She doesn't impose her will on the world. She simply lives in alignment with her values and purpose, and others are naturally drawn to follow her example. This form of influence is rooted in self-sufficiency and authenticity. The Sigma female doesn't seek validation or praise. She acts according to her principles because she believes in them. And this silent confidence, living her truth unapologetically, is what sparks change in those around her. She shows others the power of living without the need for external approval, demonstrating through her own life that true autonomy is the most powerful form of leadership. Example: the quiet power of consistency. Imagine a workplace where a Sigma female consistently performs her work with integrity, regardless of whether anyone is watching. She doesn't make a show of her efforts, nor does she seek recognition for doing the right thing. She simply does it because it aligns with her values. Over time, others begin to notice. At first, it may seem insignificant, but then a colleague begins to mirror her behavior, working diligently without seeking the spotlight. A supervisor starts to adopt her approach, valuing consistency and integrity over showmanship. Slowly, a subtle shift occurs. The culture of the workplace begins to evolve, all because one person chose to live by example without demanding or directing others to do the same. This is the power of echoes of autonomy. When you lead by example, your influence spreads quietly, exponentially. You don't need to impose change. You create it simply by embodying the values you wish to see in the world. Historical parallel: the influence of Mahatma Gandhi. One of the most profound examples of this principle is Mahatma Gandhi, who led one of the most significant social movements in history, not through force or violence, but through personal example. Gandhi's philosophy was clear: if you want to change the world, you must first be the change you wish to see. He didn't need to convince people with grand speeches or aggressive tactics. He simply lived out his values, and his commitment to non-violence and truth had a ripple effect that transformed not just a nation, but the world. Gandhi's personal integrity and his unwavering adherence to his principles inspired millions. His influence was silent but profound, much like the Sigma female who leads through action and consistency rather than words. Influence isn't about control, it's about mastery. Mastery over self, over energy, over the silent cues that shape the world. The Sigma female understands that the most powerful force isn't the loudest, it's the one that doesn't need to try. If you found value in this insight, share this with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to step into your own quiet power, make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more content that challenges the way you see influence and self-mastery. Because true power, it doesn't demand, it simply is.